Hi YouTube, I'm James, I'm 26, and I'm a software engineer based in the Tennessee Valley area, and this is my July breakdown video. This is where I'm going to go over the data and grabs provided by YNAB and the toolkit extension. Before I dive into that, a quick word on credit cards in YNAB. So credit cards are budget accounts in YNAB. YNAB treats money flowing into them and transfers between budget accounts. So money didn't really leave your budget when you're paying off a credit card, and so therefore they do not show up in your spending reports. And as far as YNAB's concerned, I'm transferring money from my budget to cover a negative budget account. There's a whole philosophy dealing with credit card usage in YNAB, and I need more time to learn it before I try to convey it to you guys. So far, I've been avoiding putting transactions on my credit cards while paying down the debt. I'm treating it as a behavioral issue. I gotta fix the cause and treating the symptoms of credit card debt before I really start to take advantage of them in the correct way. I do want to eventually take advantage of them correctly because I see it as a nice buffer, since I'm starting to now keep my money in separate places like high yield savings accounts. And just recently, I miscalculated what I need to get out of my checking account and into savings. And ACH transfers are really slow, so I'm kind of really hurting for money to settle, and credit cards would be a nice tool for combating that. But that's the stuff that's happening now. I want this video to be diving into July's data. And so without further ado, I'm showing off the YNAB Reflect tab. So this one I have opened is the spending pie chart. Each category as a percentage of the other categories. I personally do not like this one because the categories are in relation to each other. So it's not 42% of housing is 42.3% of my total, and that's when compared to all of the other amounts. So, and that does not take into my consideration my income. Also, the positive categories are reflected as being negative here, and that's the same premise as credit card transfers. So yeah, that's spending. Let's look, and so the other data that the Reflect tab provides is the income versus expense. Personally, I think this table is too large, and as you're scrolling, you're leaving off. It's really hard to make data comparisons with this table alone, and for that, I like the cool toolkit version of this more. I'll show you guys that later, shortly. And then what I think the best Reflect feature, YNAB built-in feature is the net worth graph. So you can see a nice line between months, and you can see how your budget, you can see how your behaviors are affecting your net worth. So I really like this graph, and it looks really nice. And I like this one over the toolkit version. Okay, so here are the toolkit reports. And so here you can see the toolkit's variant of the income versus expense versus the Reflect one. It's much more condensed, and it's easier to kind of see the data side by side, in my opinion. Let's see. So here's the income versus expense for July. I want to talk briefly about the notable events of this month. My partner and I opened a joint health savings account that we're treating as our primary emergency fund account, and I think that it's where our shared goal money is going to live. For example, house down payment. They contributed to it this month as well, so it's inflating my income for this month because we're slowly merging our finances, but we're not outright one financially yet. They're also still Venmoing me all of their portion of the bills. That comes out of my main checking still. I've got some ideas on how I want this situation to evolve, but that's kind of out of the scope of this video. So let's dig into some numbers here. $5,661 and 67 cents came in. $2,490 and $8.18 went out. Therefore, $2,696 and 53 cents was saved. And recall from earlier, this is including the amount that I've transferred or paid into my credit card debt, which isn't a sizable amount of. I think that would decrease the subtract about 500 for that, if I remember recalling my goal correctly. And also, so let's see. Now I want to dig in. So those are the totals. Let's dig into first stuff I didn't budget for. So transactions that I didn't plan for, they total up to $47.22. I'm not going to act on this data for now, but this is if this keeps happening, I need to translate these into true expenses so that they're not just, oh heck, something happened. It would be best for this to be reflected in some other category, I think. So, but having this data and being able to reflect on it is valuable. And so let's look at other variable expenses. So one would be the groceries and toiletries. That this month grocery spending was $728.18, plus the eating out the occasional eating out $88.82, total of $817. Before I was budgeting, this number was something like 1,400, something like 30% of my spending. So yeah, very much an improvement over how I was previously handling my finances. And if I flip over, just for comparison, for percentage, I can flip back over here and see that food was 20% of the overall spending this month. Let's see. And food is down to just 10%. So I've managed to mitigate 20% of what I used to spend on eating. So that's awesome. That's a good segue into income breakdown. For those of you who are unaware, this is called a Sankey diagram. If you were not familiar with it, it's a very cool looking, in my opinion, very cool looking data flow diagram. You can see stage one would be what flowed into my budget accounts, and then the next stage would be what flowed out. And you can go on both sides. And the last stage is breaking out major categories into their subcategories. What I don't like about this diagram is it doesn't show you your breakdown of sinking funds. Anything that wasn't spent or anything that wasn't logged as a transaction is considered net gain. And this also includes credit card payments. Let's see. So I want to take this as an opportunity to check up on my budget to see if it fits in within guidelines. So it fits into guidelines recommended, or suggested budget guidelines, sorry. Those numbers would be what I have on this sheet of paper: 35% for housing, 15% for transportation, 25% for all other things like groceries and bills and subscriptions and fund spending, 50% for debt. So 35% housing, I can hover over either side of this housing. Housing is one major category with one subcategory, so either side of the areas of this diagram, you can see 59% of my income went towards housing. That does fall underneath, or that is less than the 35% recommended guideline. Next up is transportation. I'm in a bit of a unique situation here. If you consider my auto loan as part of transportation spending, that's 9%. A little bit more info on that. I drive a battery electric vehicle, and my landlord pays for the electricity bill. So that would fall under bills, but also could technically fall under transportation. But so that makes my effective month-to-month transportation spending 0, not including car maintenance. And that's pretty remarkable, I think. What this data does not include, since I'm slowly merging with my partner, is their car loan they drive a Prius, so they do spend on gas monthly, but the data won't show that because we're not combined. I think combined, I think that does inflate the number, including both of our debt payments and what we spend on gas is about 15%, which would, so together that puts us right up to 15% recommendation if we were combined, but for the purpose of this video, we're not. Definitely greater than 0 combined for sure. So 25% for the other categories. I calculated this off video. If you look at the debt, food, bills, subscriptions, fitness, etc., that's about 20% of my income. That does fall under the 25 recommended 20 of income spending. I'd say that's pretty good. I don't really feel like digging any deeper into that, so I'll take that at face value and just feel good about it. So I'm still primarily in my getting out of debt era. I'm still closer to $3,000 in credit card debt, but I would like to take a second to peek at my investment accounts. Off camera, I reconciled them just today. The market has not been doing well the past several days, but investing's a long game, so take that as you will. Overall, the total of all of these accounts is $35,932. The one I'm most of these are in cash accounts. I've got an employee savings portfolio, employee stock purchase program, and a 401k. I want to start off by saying I'm extremely privileged. I'm well above the average for my age for the retirement savings. I think the average 26-year-old, according to I think CNN was, and I'm not sure the date of this data, it's 3,000, and that is my amount of about 24,000 is extremely above that. But however, based on recommended target would be about half of my salary. Half my salary is about 40,000. So I'm still behind my target, even though I'm well above average. So that can be kind of frustrating. But my plan to catch up to where I should be for my, again, considering I'm above average, I'm going to start maxing out my annual contribution to my retirement account, and hopefully that'll get me caught up to that. Whatever the next target would be, I guess I would have to wait some time and reassess if I'm meeting my target. So I should be at half my retirement, half my salary. I'm not there. I have a plan to fix it, is all I want to say about that. Furthermore, I am interested in the FIRE movement, and that's Financial Independence Retire Early. I've only begun scratching the surface of it. I don't really know much about it other than it's an extreme form of savings to speed run financial independence and to be able to retire early. I've still got a lot of, again, I'm still in the get out of debt era, so I've got a lot to figure out there. But that's all I wanted to talk about this video. See ya.